Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy XI. My name is Bry and this is my character, Bry. Today we are covering the first of the outdoor adventure areas in Final Fantasy XI. This is directly outside the city of Windurst. It's where all the brand new Windurstian characters go to start leveling up. Here is the gate outside Windurst Woods. It's guarded by two Mithra. The other gates into Windurst would have Taru in front of them, but being that this leads to the Mithra area, they stuck to Mithra out here. This is a new feature right here that I have targeted, this floating book. It's called Fields of Valor, and many adventure areas will have these floating books in certain strategic spots. How this works is if you examine this book, you'll have the opportunity to select training regimes, and how they work is basically you kill a few extra monsters, you get a lot of extra experience, and something called tabs, which you can redeem for buffs or consumables. Really handy. Now, this small field is where you would first come to once you step out the gate. As you can see, we have a new player here, as evidenced by the question mark next to their name. Now, your first targets as you come out the gate would be these tiny mandragoria, some Savannah rarib, and these bumblebees. They're good for getting a couple levels before you progress further away from the gate and into areas that have more difficult monsters in them. Some examples of these more difficult monsters. You can see I'm walking up to a carrion crow. They're not too difficult, but they're a little bit harder than those tiny bumblebees. And as we get further away from the gate, we will run into... Hopefully I can find one in a minute. I didn't scout this area earlier to see what's over here. But this area is populated as well by the first of the beastmen races we'll be covering, which is the Yagudo. There's one there. They're basically giant bipedal crow-looking things. And the Yagudo homogeny, for lack of a better word for it, is a military theocracy. That's their government style. They're ruled by what they believe to be an avatar of their god, and they have a very, very intricate and formal military structure. They bully Windurst horribly, but Windurst pretty much takes it in stride because they don't want another war. You can see also here there are some crawlers. Last episode when I covered Windurst, I showed you a farmer that wanted you to kill these things, and there they are. Die, crawler, die. Right now we're headed over to the closest entrance to the Horatoto Towers, which is the first of the dungeon areas available to Windurst. It's varying difficulty. Basically, the Horatoto Towers has like 6 entrances, and each entrance contains a different portion of the towers, and they have different monsters in them. Some have undead, some have rogue Cardians, most of them have goblins, and they each have different maps, and some of them are connected, but if you go from one section of the Horatoto Towers to another, it's typically a one-way trip, and you'd have to exit the towers to get back to the first area. Here is what the tower looks like from the outside. Like I said, there's 6 of them. There are, I think, 3 in this zone, and 3 more in the neighboring zone. Let me show you the map. This is East Sarudabaruda. Up to the north is Tarangi Canyon. Over to the west is West Sarudabaruda and Windurst. Directly to the south of me is one entrance to the Horatoto Towers. The second entrance is over here on the east side of the map, and then the north side of the map has a third entrance. There is good fishing in the pond here in this zone, but there are wandering goblins in Yagudo, so unlike fishing in town, here there's actual risk if you wander off. Now, once upon a time, when the Taru first came to this area, legend has it there were a lot more trees around. But the Taru built and harnessed the Horatoda towers in order to get magical energy, collect the magical energy from the area. They use that magical energy for different things. But over the centuries, the land kind of is kind of dying. The draining of the magical energy from the land has resulted in climate change. It's gone from a forested area to pretty much a savanna. And one of the sources of tension between the Yugudo and the Taru is that the Yugudo want the Horatoda towers destroyed. They are not appreciative of the effect that they have on the land. However, the Taru are kind of dependent on it now, so they can't just discard it. We have some giant bees, much more difficult than the bumblebees that were right outside the gate. Those bumblebees in the tiny Mandragoria are specifically there for the level 1 characters to beat on, so that they don't get overwhelmed by tougher monsters here further out from the gate. As you can see, there's a lot more Yugudo out here. Now, that Yugudo I just passed was wearing a red mask. They don't actually have long beaks like that. The masks are indicative of the placement of the Yugudo in their theocracy. Ones that do not have a very high theocratic rank would not be wearing masks. Carrion crows. Now, one thing I'd like to say about adventure areas: typically each adventure area will have at least one of what is known as a notorious monster. It'll be some kind of creature type that's already existed in the zone, but it'll pretty much be a bigger example, and it'll be specifically named. This zone has a notorious monster known as Spiny Spippy. It's a crawler, and if you manage to find it and kill it, it has a chance to drop a nice little loot item for you. Here's another look at the map. I'm almost over to the entrance to West Sarudabaruda. This area extends well up to the north, and you get up there by running along the river to the west side of the zone, but I'm not going up that way. I'm trying to economize how much time this is going to take. Now, these big trees out here, as opposed to the smaller ones, these giant trees are star trees, and they're getting kind of rare, and new star trees are very, very hard to grow. So the Windurstians really value them for different reasons, one of which includes using the fruit of them for the heads of their Cardians. But they're hard to grow, so supplies are limited. Here is the zone edge. Loading, please wait.